to, and when deciding where to go for your studies, it might be good to have a feel of what's out there, right? So in the Netherlands, there's two main streams of educations that we offer. So we have our universities of applied sciences and the research universities. And although both of them will get you a bachelor's in, different fields, there are differences in the way they educate and the actual bachelor's that they offer. So I'd like to start explaining the two differences here. So let's start with universities of applied sciences. So the universities of applied sciences, they offer professional higher education. So it's more training on job, as it says here. So it's more training to practical fields in that sense. So it's a 4-year bachelor program, and it has that more practical element. So there's always, you maybe have to do an internship or write a research report for a certain company, but there's always a more practical work experience element in these bachelor programs. And they're also always 4 years long. And, obviously it's a very applied learning style. So it's more about how to do things. It's less reading about things, less theoretical, but more about you actually using the knowledge that you have. And it's also more, larger university. So it's more working together on cases with other classmates, teamworks. You have a lot more in-class time than you would have at a research university. So this is one of the two that we have. So universities of applied sciences, and in a little bit I'll show you what different bachelors you find in this field. But if you're not sure what you want to study at and what works for you, so this is more if you're more someone who is more like hands-on and like to get started right away and you learn while doing it, then this might be the right type of bachelor for you. So this is universities of applied sciences, and then we also have research universities. So these are more academic higher education. So it's a lot more theoretical. It's a lot more research focused. Often these research universities have 3-year bachelor programs, whereas universities of applied sciences have 4-year bachelor programs. You always have to do a final research thesis for the research university. So again, a lot more research focus, whereas there's no, internship element. There's usually not an internship that's mandatory for these research university. It's more fast-paced. It's more you studying yourself, doing your own thing in that sense. Way more self-learning, less in-class time. And whereas the University of Applied Sciences maybe is more focused on the how, this would be more focused on the why. So those are the two main streams that we have. So very different in the type of education that they offer, and also obviously the degrees that they offer. But both will get you a bachelor degree. So it just really depends on what it is that you're interested in. So looking at those two main streams that we have here in the Netherlands, so the Universities of Applied Sciences, they have more, the business degree, so accounting, finance, whereas at research universities, you can study economics. So, one is more focused on the how, the other one is more focused on the why. So there's some, some different examples here, but, nursing is always a good example. Nursing itself is more a University of Applied Science because you learn actually how, to be a nurse, and then actually studying medicine, that would be a research university as you do more of the why and the research behind it. So there's lots more examples here. I'm not going to list them all, but it's good to know that there's also a little bit of both that you could do at research university. So think about, business administration, media and communication. You have, for example, the business, you could study marketing, which would be maybe University of Applied Sciences, but you can also study communication science, which would be research university. So there's a little bit of overlap between the two. But yeah, as you can see, there's a clear difference in terms of how they teach as well. But this is where you can find the degrees in the Netherlands. And then, as you can see at the research universities, all the way at the bottom there, there's liberal arts and sciences. And that's actually where I wanted to talk about today, which is the university colleges that we have in the Netherlands. So it's almost like a third category, but all these liberal arts and sciences colleges are part of a research university. So it's 2 main streams, and then it's like a little bit of extra, which will get you to the university colleges. So what makes a university college different from a regular research university? So, university colleges, we have about 10 of them in the Netherlands, and they're always connected to a research university. So, for example, I work for University College Roosevelt. It's part of Utrecht University. So Utrecht University is a research university, and then we are the Liberal Arts and Sciences College. And these liberal arts and science colleges, they all have, similarities. They do the things, because there's about 10 of them. They all do their own thing in that sense, but there are some similarities. And it's actually a very American way of studying. So there's definitely some US influence on the curriculum that these university colleges offer. And you can see that in the flexibility of the programs. So it's a lot more of you telling us what you want to study. So you can combine different courses and fields, for example, economics with some psychology, or whatever it is that you're interested in. But there's a lot more flexibility in the program. And that helps also with the multi and interdisciplinary approach to things. So it's more about you learning, solving issues with like a more multi perspective in that sense. So you can combine these different fields to get that. So it's very interdisciplinary. Often they have a more traditional form like they have in the US. So there's Arts and Humanities, Science, Social Science, Engineering. And as I said, the different university colleges have different approaches to this, but in general, this is what we took from the US in terms of liberal arts and sciences colleges. But we also looked at the UK, and we got some aspects from the education system that they have there as well. So in terms of that, it's very much inspired by the Oxford and Cambridge structure of education. So that tight-knit academic community. It's always small scale. So these university colleges in the Netherlands, they have anywhere between maybe like 450 and max 750 students in total at the university. So it's a small scale. Classes are kept at often anywhere between 25 and 35 students, because there's no big lecture halls for you to listen to someone for hours. So it's very much interactive, because we want to make sure that that people learn from each other in the classroom as well, right? That's that little bit of interdisciplinary education that we have here. There's a strong emphasis on extracurricular activities. So often these university colleges, they have a lot to offer in terms of extracurricular opportunities. So for example, you could, join like a cooking society, dance society, theater, anything like that, but also more focused on your curriculum. So if you're studying philosophy, I'm sure there's a society in that as well. But there's a strong emphasis on that. And again, that has to do with the whole liberal arts and science philosophy that you can learn after you finish school as well, right? You can learn from the different cultures that are in your classroom, then from each other as well. And then with these extracurriculars, that's like stimulated, obviously. And a great thing about these university colleges in the Netherlands is that they're usually residential, and that's what we took from the UK again then. Everyone lives on campus, and again, every university does that differently, and they have different things that they offer in terms of extracurriculars, and then small scale is interpreted differently at these universities. But in general, they all have these aspects. That gets me to the Dutch flavor. So to sum that all up, these university colleges are always part of a research university. So these programs, these liberal arts and sciences colleges, they always have a strong research focus. So as I said, we are part of Utrecht University, which is a research university in the Netherlands. But all of these university colleges are, and they're often honors programs. It's in Dutch, it's like labeled by the government as small scale and intensive. So that intensive, that's because it's an honors program of these research universities. So it is fast-paced. It's a little bit more, there's definitely a lot of studying for you to do here. It's a 3-year program. So after 3 years, you get a Bachelor of Art or a Bachelor of Science, depending on your main focus. So obviously, if you decided to focus more on the Arts and Humanities and the Social Science, that would lead to a Bachelor of Art. But if you've done more courses in Science and Engineering, then you would get a Bachelor of Science. but these will always be in liberal arts and sciences. So a Bachelor of Art in Liberal Arts and Sciences from the research university that offers this honors program. And another great thing about these university colleges in the Netherlands is that they are some of the most international programs that we have here in the country. So I think mainly for international students, it's a nice way to get adjusted maybe to life in the Netherlands, but they are very international. Yeah. So now, we have these university colleges, but as I said, there's so many different ways for universities to offer this. So the next step would be finding the right university college. So it's slightly different in terms of what we look for and what would make a good university college student. We always say academically strong, so it should be someone that enjoys studying for the sake of it, and is very curious and wants to combine these different fields, and is very much self-motivated when it comes to learning. So just someone who loves knowledge in general would make a good university college student, because you do have to motivate yourself a lot. And obviously when you have a little bit of freedom in your program, you can choose what it is that you want to study, which makes it often a lot easier. But still, you need to be someone who loves knowledge. And then because it's all small scale and it has that social aspect, it's someone who's socially involved, someone who wants to contribute to that community, who wants to learn more about the other students that are in their classes, the different cultures that they're surrounded with, but really want to help that community grow. So it's someone who contributes to community. And then the international focus, I feel like I touched on this a few times already, but it's even in the program itself. Often these university colleges are so international that you won't study Dutch law, for example, you'll study international law. So the courses have that international outlook as well. So you need to be someone who thrives in an international environment. So that's just you as a person, what things you could think about if that would be you. But then still there's just different university colleges. So first of all, I would say have a look at the different curriculums that they offer. Obviously, they need to offer a bachelor that you're interested in, right? So whereas we are, for example, we have a very traditional form of liberal arts and sciences, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on, but we really have the 4 main majors. But there's also university colleges that have a more thematic approach. So for example, sustainability, or you could study more like business related courses. So definitely look at the different curriculums. And even because we're part of Utrecht University, we are a university college there, but there's also another university college of Utrecht University. And they, for example, offer theater, whereas we are more focused on music. So there's definitely differences in curriculum. So have a look there. Then teaching style as well. We are more case-based learning. But you also have the problem-based learning. So there's different teaching styles. There's university colleges that do like to have slightly bigger classes, whereas we kept them at 25. So different teaching styles is something you would like to consider when choosing a university college. The residential structure, as I said, it's usually mandatory for students to live on campus if they join a university college. But the way they do this is different. So sometimes it's only for your first year, sometimes it's the entire duration of your study. But that's definitely something you want to keep in mind when deciding where to study. The city and locations are very different as well. And that's what I like about these, because the university colleges are really spread out through the country. So we are very much in the southwest, but there's also some university, there's one in the northeast of the country, which is about 5 hours from here, which is as far you can go in the Netherlands. So, and in between there's loads of them as well. So they are all over the country. And I think a different city and location brings a different atmosphere, right? So that's something you want to do your research in. If you're more a city person, make sure that your university college is in a larger city. Maybe it's located just outside the city center, which gives a different atmosphere than a university college that's spread out through a city center, So have a look there and see if that city and location is something you can see yourself living in. Because obviously that also impacts the atmosphere in student life, the different things that are organized. I think we are, for example, a little bit more outside of the box option. So it's not a student city in the general, in the Netherlands per se, but I do think that brings us a lot more adventurous, creative students. So, that then impacts the student life and the atmosphere here. Obviously, it's always best if you could visit all these university colleges. I know that might be difficult. So talk to students at these university colleges and see, and try to find out if that's an atmosphere you'd be happy in. And then obviously the tuition fees differ as well. Because these university colleges are labeled as small scale and intensive, we could ask a little bit higher tuition fees than the regular university programs in the Netherlands, which is all regulated by the government, how much they can ask. So there are some differences there in tuition fees as well. So that's also something to consider when you decide where to study. Then the next thing, admissions, also slightly different maybe than regular universities in terms of admissions. So obviously the academic entry requirements, as I said as well, there is, it's for students that are academically strong, and obviously we need a way for us to establish that. So we always look at the diploma, and there might be some additional requirements, and then you may think of like, it really depends on the diploma that you have, but then you could have maybe, standardized tests, which is usually not required, but something like that, or a year of university credit. But it all depends on the diploma that you have, but there might be some additional requirements. Often in the Netherlands, there's no great requirements, but for these university colleges, sometimes there is. So that's something that you want to check. And this is always on the website of the university college that you're interested in, right? So please make sure that you check that beforehand. Another thing about these university colleges is that they have a selective admission process. And I think you can imagine that with, us want to make it smaller universities, and we have a specific type of student that enjoys this environment. So we do need to figure that out when we look at our admissions. So there's different ways of university colleges to do that. So you could have maybe a resume that's required, maybe a motivation letter. There's often an interview involved, or you have to write, an essay or a personal statement. It depends on the university. But this is all because motivation, why you want to study at university college, and the fit. So because we want to make sure that a student's going to be happy at the university, right? So it's always a selective admissions process. And then the deadlines is another thing, because they, again, are different for all these universities, but often they are between December 1st being the very first deadline if you want to start that next year in September, or July 1st, which is one of the very latest deadline if you want to start in that September. But this depends again on passport, if you need a visa or not. And again, per program as well. So there's different deadlines. So please make sure you always check that on the website. And then some offers spring intake as well. So that would start in February. So that's something to consider as well. But the general rule here is, it's good to know, I think, for you that there are, more strict requirements when it comes to academic entry. There is a selective process. There's deadlines and all of that. But the general rule is that you always check the website of the university that you're interested in, because they differ, right? They have similar things here, but it can be slightly different. So always check that if you want to apply for a university. So that's about university colleges in the Netherlands in general, and the Dutch higher education landscape. I would like to take some of your time to tell a little bit more about University College Roosevelt, because I feel that would make it all a little bit more clear in terms of what these university colleges do. University College Roosevelt is, as I said before, part of Utrecht University. We're located in Middelburg, which is a beautiful town. It's a very Dutch town in the southwest of the Netherlands. It's very close to the beach. I can drive 15 minutes in any direction and I will find a beach, which is very great. But it's definitely a smaller town to be in. And what we have here is obviously that liberal arts and sciences curriculum. And I'm going to show you now how, how we have the more traditional way of doing that. So we have the 4 main majors. So we have Arts Humanities, Engineering, Science, and Social Science. What makes us special here is that we have the engineering major as well, which is We are the only university college in the Netherlands that has a specific engineering department. But we have 4 departments. In these 4 departments, you find over 40 different tracks or academic disciplines. And I'll show all of them in a different slide. But yeah, so there's 40 different tracks. In these tracks, you'll then find courses at different levels. And then a level, could be 100 level, which is an introduction level. And it's roughly a first year course. And then, those other levels are like second year, third year course. But you don't take them specifically in those years, right? Because you create your own curriculum and you can move on from 100 to a 200 level as soon as you've finished it. So that all depends on you as well. But this altogether adds up to 200 different courses that we offer here. And I know this always sounds like a lot. So just to give an example, I think that it helps to envision all of this. So as you can see on the screen, one of their majors or departments is social science. Within that social science department, you then find psychology as a track or academic discipline. Then within psychology, I think there's 8 different courses, but to give an example, we have a 100 level course, Introduction to Psychology. There's a 200 level course that you can take after finishing that introduction level course in abnormal psychology. And if you really want to move on to intermediate level, you can then take psychotherapy as a 300 level course. And having those 3 courses then rounds off taking psychology. If you do want to focus on psychology, there's even more courses in this track, but this is a way to do this. Yeah, as I said, it might be good to walk you through the years, and then I'll show you all the different tracks that we have. So that's the nice thing about these university colleges. You have time to explore your passions and figure out what you want to focus on. So year 1, I always tell students, take your time to explore. Find out where your passion is. What is it that you want to focus on? Because there's so many things that you can do. And I'm sure that you all have, doubts about what it is that you want to study and want to focus on. So take that first year and take that course in psychology, but also in music and also in, mathematics, for example, and find it is that you really want to focus on because you have that freedom. So your first year, you take 8 courses in total. 2 mandatory courses because you do need to build those research skills because it's very much research focused. But other than that, you can take any 100 level course. And if you finish that 100 level course in your second semester, already some 200 courses as well to really, find out what it is that you want to focus on, but also build those research skills. At the end of your first year, we are going to ask you to decide on a major. And that major then would be Arts and Humanities, Engineering, Science, or Social Science. Then you move on to your second year. So at the end of your first year, you've thought about this. In your second year, you're going to commit to a major. So one of the 4. And now your time is going to start where you're really going to focus and do more in that field. So you could do that by maybe considering a minor, which is 4 courses in a different major, or you could do an exchange. As we are part of Utrecht University, we can use all their exchange locations. So there's really anywhere in the world you can go. And you could do an internship, an academic internship if you want to. All of this is not mandatory, but it's really there for you to help to dive deeper into your interests. At this point in time, you can take all different level courses. Again, it depends if you've done the 100, if you could do a 200 and so on. But yeah, this is really you figuring out more about the subject that you discovered in year 1 that you want to focus on. And this is, again, 8 courses that you take a year. And then year 3, as this is a 3-year program, it's all about graduation. So you're going to wrap up your program. You're going to do your research, which we call a senior project. But it's a topic that combines everything that you've learned. Well, maybe not everything, but it's always a point where you can combine different courses that you've taken throughout the years. So it's a very interdisciplinary project. So you can do that research. It's an independent research with the help of a faculty member that you're going to perform. You're going to think about your future options, and you've probably done so already in the years before this. But yeah, think about your future options, discuss it with your tutor, because it's good to think ahead what you want to do next. And at this point in time, you can still take courses at any level in any major. There's also maybe some requirements you still need to fulfill because you, for example, need a course in every department. You need to have enough 300 level courses. Well, there's stuff like that you need to fulfill as well before you can graduate, but your tutor will help you with that to make sure that you're on track. But that's it. You take another 8 courses and then you wrap up your program at UCR. So this is a slide I promised with all the different tracks that we have. I'm not going to list them all. You can see them on the screen here, but I think it's good to know that we have some special programs. So in Arts and Humanities, we have a special performing dance and music program. So that's for students that have a passion for dance or music and want to combine that with academics. To give an example, we've had a student combining music with physics and some other courses as well, and they now look at acoustics, so very specific. But also, music and psychology is a very popular combination to look at creative therapy, for example. And then we have another special program, which is our pre-med program. It's a combination of the biomedical sciences and the life sciences. And this is really for students that would like to pursue a career in the field of medicine. So this could be becoming a doctor or, maybe a medical master. But it's really for those that want to continue in the medical field. And then as you can see, lots of different tracks that you can take, and you can combine all of these. I often think it helps to give examples. We've had students combining art history with chemistry, and they now look how to restore paintings. Or, something that's quite popular is maybe some history, some economics, some law, some psychology, and then look more at a career in business or communications, if they also did some linguistics and literature. It really depends on what it is that you want to do, but I'm sure you can find it in a program like this. But yeah, this is everything we offer, and obviously this is also available on our website. So a little bit more about this education format. You know this already, but small scale, so max 25 students, and that allows for a very interactive education. Something that we do that might be different than other university colleges is that we have continuous assessment. So you'll have a, maybe an essay or a presentation or an exam throughout the time that you take a course. So this really helps you to stay on top of your work because you have to keep up. But also if you're maybe very good at writing, but not so much at presenting, then you can, average your grade there a little bit. Then support is also very important. I think with these programs, all the university colleges in the Netherlands offer a lot more support than regular universities do because they have that small scale. But support faculty and staff is there. We have about 80 faculty and staff members for the 550 students that we have. So there's really always someone that can help you. And because it's a small community, you know them as well, right? So it's easy to come and talk to them. But a very important person during your time at UCR is your tutor, or you can call them an academic advisor. But this is someone that you can that helps you with anything academically. So whenever you have to decide what courses to take next semester, you have someone to sit down with and talk through, your options, what you've done so far, what you enjoyed, what you want to do next. So you see them at least once every semester, but more often if you need to. And they really help you build that academic program. Because we also do realize that it can be quite overwhelming. We have 200 courses, make something beautiful out of it. It's nice that someone's there to make sure that you're on track. We also have a study skill center. So that's like a writing center or someone that can help you with planning. Any study skills that you need to be a better student, they are there. And then we also have a student well-being team. So they are more for mental support available. We have counselors that you can schedule a meeting with if you're just stuck and you just need someone to talk with. And we have an on-campus psychologist even in terms of that. So there's lots of support available. But studying is, about so much more than just academics. So I do want to spend a little bit of time on student life at University College Roosevelt. So as I said, our community is about 500, we're almost at 550 students now, and 80 faculty and staff members. Just over 50% is international. So out of all these university colleges that are already international, UCR is one of the most international ones, even in that. So over 50% is international, and they all live on campus in Middelburg. So you really become part of this. I sometimes call it like a little bubble, but it's a community. It's a family away from home, right? That's there to help you. The way we have our housing here, because it's mandatory to live on campus, we offer guaranteed housing for the entire duration of the program. So for the entire 3 years that you study here, you will have a place to live. There are 4 different campus locations, and they're all within walking distance of our main academic building, which is actually the beautiful former town hall of Middelburg, right on the market square. And from there, you walk 10 minutes max to these different academic buildings. So we call our campus a little inner city campus. We have 2 main types of housing. So traditional Dutch student house, that means that you'll have your own room, but you share a kitchen, bathroom, and common space. And we have studio apartments where you have your own kitchen, bathroom, but there's still communal areas where you can meet up with other students that also live in that apartment building. And student life itself is very much for students by students. I'm sometimes surprised by the things our students offer. There's really something to do every night of the week. You're not going to have time to join all of that, but you'll learn that quickly enough. But yeah, it's great to see that they're very active. So every student becomes automatically a member of a Roosevelt All Student Association, so RASA. And underneath that, you find all the societies, the teams, the different events and trips they organize. They're all available to all students. And then we do have our common house, Elliot. And Elliot is it's a common house. So it's like a social hub where you can sit down, have a cup of coffee. It's completely run by volunteers. So, if you want to get some first-hand business experience, you could help run Elliot, for example, but it's completely run by students. There's study spaces and meeting rooms. There's a silent study area. There's a Mensa, and downstairs there's a bar where they sometimes host parties and events. But overall, it's a very active student life. So the practicalities, as I said, that I'll talk about admissions as well, but these differ a little bit, for the different university colleges that we have. UCR is among the more affordable options in terms of university colleges. Tuition fees are always based on passport in the Netherlands. So if you have a European passport, it's roughly around 3,500 a year. And if you have a non-European passport, it's around 9,000 euros a year. The other monthly cost, for example, for rent, it's about 400 euros a month. And then other expenses, so your books, your food, if you want to go out for dinner sometimes, or see a movie, anything really, it's around 400 euro. But this depends on lifestyle a lot. So I've had students that tell me 250 is more than enough. Other students may need 600, 700 euro. It depends. But just to give you an idea of what it's like to live in the Netherlands. It's roughly around that. Admission. So the minimum requirements, as I said, you do need to have university entry level, and it needs to be equivalent to the Dutch VWO diploma. There's different ways for us to evaluate this. The more known international diplomas, such as the IB, you need to have at least 30 points in your classes, but there's other diplomas that we accept as well. And they're all on our website. If your diploma is not on our website, I always recommend students to still apply, because we evaluate these on a case-by-case basis, because it's a combination of things, right? You need to have at least a diploma here, but then sometimes the student is more academically strong, but then a little less motivation, or the other way around. Someone that's academically maybe a little less strong, but has a really strong motivation for UCR, then we could still accept students. So it's really a combination of the two. In terms of selection, I spent some time with this as well, because I feel like this is in general for university colleges, but it is that student that enjoys studying for the sake of it, that has that energy, that wants to be in charge of their own curriculum and has all these ideas of what to study, but does not want to limit themselves to just one field, right? And want to explore some other fields and perspectives as well. International outlook is also very important, because the courses, as I said, have that. So if you want to study Dutch law, this is not the place. I'm sure you don't want to, but all courses have that international outlook. To evaluate if you're admissible, we do need your grades list. So these could be achieved and predicted grades if you have them. We need that letter of motivation. We ask for a letter of recommendation as well. And after that's been evaluated, we invite students for an interview or not before we make a decision to give a student an offer. So this is how we do that. But again, if you want to see how other universities do this, please check their website. We offer a spring intake as well. So we have the deadlines for a fall entry, and a fall entry would be August, September time, which is April or May 1st, depending on passport again. And then deadlines for a spring entry would be October or November 1st, depending on passport. And then applications, we do rolling admission. So applications for the fall entry, for example, they open up every year in November and then close in April or May. So we start reviewing it right away, and it takes us about 6 to 8 weeks to get back to students. Yeah, so you can know quite soon if you've been accepted or not. Yeah, so that's it about university colleges in the Netherlands and UCR specifically. I feel like I've been talking for forever. I'm sure you have questions as well, so we'll move on to that. But if today we don't have time to answer your question, all the details are on the screen here. You're always welcome to join an online or if you have the opportunity, in-person open day. We have webinar weeks coming up. You are always able to schedule a meeting with me to, I can help you then with more with questions that you have. You can chat with students on our website. We have this platform called Unibody. And then you can plan in-person campus visits as well if you'd like to stop by. But yeah, that's it for me. Thank you all so much for listening. And now I'm happy to answer some questions if there are any. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Wait.
Any questions? Is there any specific reason that you charge foreigners more than Europeans?
Yes, there is actually. That's a good question. It's because the government, they give us money for European passport holders, and it's simply only because of that. But it's a good thing to know that we have scholarships available that make that more, mainly for international students, to make that all more equal again. Yeah, but it's only because of the government. That's the only reason.
Other questions?
How do you receive a scholarship?
How do you, yeah, so you can start your application the same way any other student would. By the time you've been accepted and you've indicated in your application that you would like to obtain a scholarship, we will have a look and see what's available. These scholarships in the Netherlands, they're all need-based and partial. So yeah, again, you will end up paying about the same as a European student would. It's very common in the Netherlands for students to have a student job to pay for their tuition fees and their expenses. But yeah, there's something available in terms of that, but it's all need-based, and there's an application process after you've been accepted for that.
Other questions? No? All right. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that you guys will contact them if you need anything else. We appreciate your time so much. Thank you again.
No worries. Thank you for having me.